Well, looks like it's controversial opinion day at Guitar Mastery Method, and today I want to talk about why I think the Stratocaster is the best all-around guitar. Now, I want to preface this video by saying that I'm not trying to claim that the Stratocaster is somehow better than a Telecaster or a Les Paul or an Ibanez or a PRS or anything in between, right? I'm just trying to say that in my experience, I found that I've been able to accomplish more things musically per capita with a Stratocaster than any other guitar I own. But that doesn't mean I don't love all of the other guitars you see me playing in my other videos. I own them for a reason. And I believe that guitars are like tools, right? So if you have a toolkit, you can't say that a hammer is better than a socket wrench, right? Because they both do very different things. They have different purposes. And I tend to look at my guitars in a similar kind of way. But I do look at the Stratocaster as kind of a multi-tool of sorts because, like I said, I've been able to accomplish more things with the Stratocaster than with any other guitar. Let me explain. Now, aside from the fact that a lot of my biggest guitar heroes were avid Strat players, I just find that the Strat gives you more options, right? Which makes sense, like it's basic math, right? It's got 3 pickups, has a 5-way selector switch, often Strats come with tremolos. There's just so much that you can do that I wouldn't be able to do with a Les Paul or a Tele if I were to take one to a specific gig or studio session that required a lot of those options. So first, let's talk about the Strat bridge pickup. Now, I love the sound of the Strat bridge pickup. I do know that it is a common complaint with a lot of Strat players that sometimes the bridge pickup is a little bit too harsh or too bright, sometimes even too brittle. Generally, if you're dealing with, let's be honest, like cheaper pickups, sometimes you'll run into that kind of thing. But if that's something that you're personally experiencing if you're a Strat player, there's an actual easy remedy to that doesn't require having to spend money on boutique Strat pickups and replacing them, right? What you can do is work your tone knob, right? So if, let's say, this is a little bit too, bright and twangy for let's say I just don't want my Strat to sound like a Strat for a second. I want to sound more like a Les Paul, right? What I'll do is bring the tone knob back. Now I'm talking about the tone knob that's furthest away from you, right? The one right next to the input jack, that's the one that dictates the tone of the bridge pickup. I'll bring it back to about 5 or 6. I usually don't like to go more than that because it gets a little, depending on what kind of pots you have in there, it can get a little woofy or just kind of weird in like the lower mids. So I try to keep the sense of clarity because when I think of a humbucker sound, a good humbucker sound, it's not muddy, right? I like clarity in a humbucker. So even though it's not 100% there, it gives me a close enough approximation that I'm happy with it, right? So if I were to, start with tone on 10, bring it down to about 6. So you still have a little bit of that twang, right? Which I do like in a good humbucker, especially like, classic vintage voice humbuckers are essentially, they say Tele on steroids, right? So it's like that really, really like fat, right? But like substantial, but single coil kind of sound. You can kind of get that when you roll the tone knob back. So if you're trying to do like a nice like rock rhythm tone that, let's say, emulates something closer to like a Les Paul, you can just bring the tone knob back and then all of a sudden you got that kind of sound. Compared to if I bring it back on 10, where a lot of that brightness, that sparkle, that shimmer comes back, which still sounds great, but if you're trying to avoid that, just to have a fatter, more Les Paul-like sound, that's really all you got to do. Just bring your tone knob back a little bit, and there you go. Next, let's talk about position 2 on your 5-way selector, which gives you a combination of the bridge and the middle pickup. This is a very commonly used pickup position for more twangy country sounds, right? Which is a lot more country-like than being full bridge. It's just, you have a lot more aggression on the bridge, and it can definitely be great for rock or even like country rock, But if you want to have a more traditional country sound, the second position can really get you there. So it's a great way to just have a tried and true country tone. So if you're in a situation where you don't have a telly, which of course, when I'm doing my country gigs, I like to bring the telly. But if I want to bring just one guitar, right? Because normally I'll bring a telly and a Les Paul, or I'll bring multiple guitars. But if I only have the chance to bring one, I will almost always reach for a Strat because I know it can cover all that ground. Then next up, you have the third position, which is the middle position, your middle pickup on your Strat, which is very unique to the Strat. There's no other guitar that does the Strat middle position sound. Kind of in the same way that, the Telly middle position is very unique to the Telly, and the Les Paul middle position unique to the Les Paul. So the Strat shares that uniqueness in the middle position. And personally, I love it for shimmering chords. So if I'm playing with like a decent amount of gain like I am right now, I'll just kind of bring the volume back a little bit, right? Because I treat the volume knob almost like a gain knob. So when I'm lowering the volume, it's not so much dB that I'm losing, it's more gain. So that way I can play kind of cleaner. Roll even more off. And it's also great for just kind of palm muting, just like little chords, So it's just a really nice, it's a tone that blends really well in a band mix. So if you're trying to do something that just adds a nice layer to whatever the band is playing, but you don't want it to be, out in the forefront, you almost want it to be unnoticeable, unless when you take it out, then you do notice that it's gone, right? But it's just something that's perfectly complementary to a band mix. I love the middle position for that. And then moving on, we have the fourth position, which is the John Mayer, Stevie Ray Vaughan. It's something you only can get with a Strat, just a... It's just a very sweet, signature Stratocaster kind of sound. That kind of sound, it's never poorly used. I feel like you can always benefit from having a sound like that, especially in like a slower song or a song where you just really want the tone to be identifiable, and especially if you're playing like kind of rhythm, like Hendrixy rhythm and lead stuff, something like... it's so great for that. I would use that position over anything else, and including, if I were playing, let's say, a Les Paul or a Telly in the neck position, you can get kind of there, but it's just not quite the same. The Strat contains that throaty kind of addition to that sound that makes it so identifiable, and of course, it's incredibly iconic. So that's another thing that I love about the Strat that I can't get out of my other guitars. And finally, we have the neck pickup, where the blues lives, So the neck pickup on a Strat is another thing that's very sought after. Even guitars that are not, like straight line Strats, Tellys, or Les Pauls, right? If you think like your PRS guitars or Ibanez guitars, a lot of times when they have Strat pickups in the neck position, and they'll have like a humbucker in the bridge, it's again to cover more ground. It's in the sake of versatility, right? So when you have the neck pickup on a Strat, it just gives you a very identifiable sound. It's just incredibly bluesy and sweet, and it's just something I can't get in any other guitar, I'm telling you. And so far, we've only just covered the sounds that you can get from the pickups. We did some fiddling with the tone knob and the volume knob, and of course, there's even more that you can do with that to get a myriad of more sounds. That's why if I'm in a situation where I'm doing a studio session and the artist wants this crazy amount of different sounds, I can be confident that I can either get as close as possible or nail those sounds if I only had one guitar being a Strat. And of course, how can we forget the tremolo on Strats? So I just wanted to take the time and really appreciate the Stratocaster. And for those of you out there who are Strat players, take pride in the guitar you're playing. Even if you're not a Strat player, you should be taking pride in the guitar you're playing anyway, but it wouldn't hurt to have a Strat in the old arsenal, you know what I mean? But that's enough of me rambling on why I love the Strat so much. And if you've made it this far into the video and you haven't thrown an angry comment my way, I appreciate you and I want to give you something. A free blues guitar solo heat map. This will show you how to play blazing hot blues solos all over the fretboard with your Strat or whatever other guitar that you're playing. So be sure to click here to claim your copy or check the link in the description box. And if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. And be sure to check out our other relevant lessons right over here. I want to thank you for hanging out with me today. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. I'm Eddie with Guitar Mastery Method, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.